Most traders fail not because they lack a perfect system, a secret indicator, or a strategy they stumbled upon in some forum at 2 a.m. They fail because they misunderstand the game entirely. There's a harsh, almost unforgiving reality that no one wants to admit. Trading is not about making money. It's about survival. Your account doesn't care about your intelligence, your dedication, or your long nights studying charts. It only responds to one thing: how stable you are under pressure. Beginners come in thinking they've found a magic formula, a signal that will transform 500 into $5 allos in weeks. They hunt for secret systems, fancy indicators, or tips from some so-called trading guru. They latch onto patterns like a lifeboat, believing that if they can just crack the code, success is guaranteed. But the market doesn't play fair, and it certainly doesn't reward optimism. The moment you believe in a shortcut, the market has already decided to teach you a lesson, often an expensive one. Look closer at most failed accounts and funded challenge attempts, and you'll see the same psychological wounds repeated over and over. Revenge trading, chasing a loss with double the risk, over-leveraging in moments of fear or greed, overconfidence after a lucky streak. These are not isolated mistakes. They are the systemic failures that slowly eat accounts alive. Traders don't fail overnight. They die in slow, predictable ways, each misstep a symptom of a deeper misunderstanding. While beginners obsess over the perfect entry, the one candle, the one signal, the one indicator that promises them a home run, the professionals are obsessed with protection. They obsess over staying in the game. Entry is trivial. Survival is everything. Protection comes in many forms: risk management, position sizing, and the unwavering discipline to cut losses before they spiral out of control. Yet few ever truly understand this. They see charts, they see price action, they see opportunity, but they miss the invisible rules that underpin every successful trader's career. Consider the illusion of indicators and signals. The moment you think an indicator can carry you to profit, you hand over control. Indicators are tools, nothing more. They do not think, they do not adapt, and they certainly do not protect your account when emotions surge. Yet beginners cling to them like a life raft in a storm, hoping that a flashing arrow or a golden cross can replace judgment and discipline. The market, however, thrives on exposing this illusion. One false signal, one missed setup, one greedy trade, and suddenly the life raft becomes a trap. The system didn't fail you. You failed to understand the system's limits. You failed to respect the rules that govern real survival. And then there's the dangerous mindset of overconfidence. It starts subtly, a streak of wins, a lucky trade, a mentor's praise, and grows into something toxic. Traders begin to believe they are invincible, that the rules are optional, that they can bend probability to their will. They ignore the subtle warnings, skip risk protocols, and convince themselves that losing is temporary, that the market is wrong. But the market is never wrong. It simply moves without care for your narrative. Overconfidence turns into recklessness, and recklessness kills accounts faster than any indicator ever could. Over-leveraging is another silent assassin. The temptation is obvious. More leverage means more potential profit, and profit is the goal, right? But leverage magnifies not only gains but also mistakes. One small miscalculation, one sudden spike, and a carefully built account collapses. And the tragic part is that over-leveraging often stems from fear as much as greed. The fear that you are missing out, the fear that your next trade won't be enough. Beginners think they need to catch up to the market or to other traders, but the professionals know the real race is not against others. It's against yourself and your own impulses. Observe the hidden pattern behind blown accounts, the failed funded challenges, the endless cycles of hope and despair. It's not strategy, it's mindset. It's the inability to enforce rules on yourself when emotions scream louder than logic. Professionals succeed not because they predict the market with mystical precision, but because they control themselves with terrifying rigor. They follow one fundamental, unbreakable rule that guides every decision: protect first, trade second. The irony is that this rule is simple but excruciatingly hard to follow. It forces traders to take small losses repeatedly, to watch winning trades slip through their fingers, to ignore the seductive calls of opportunity. Beginners balk at this. They crave instant validation, dramatic wins, and confirmation that their intelligence is being rewarded. Professionals accept the quiet, sometimes painful truth Staying in the game is more important than winning any single trade. This obsession with protection manifests in ways beginners often overlook. It's the commitment to fixed risk per trade, the habit of stepping back when setups aren't perfect, the courage to sit out entire sessions when conditions are unfavorable. It's emotional armor invisible to the untrained eye, but vital to long-term survival. Every trade is a test, not of strategy, but of discipline. And the professionals know that discipline is a muscle, one that must be exercised daily, through every trade, every day, even when temptation whispers otherwise. And yet, despite all this, the beginner's mind latches onto one false belief, that the market owes them. That if they just study, just watch, just follow, they can finally break the code. They fail to see the most uncomfortable truth: the market does not owe you profit. The market's only law is survival. Those who cling to illusion after illusion find themselves crushed not by price movement, but by their own failure to master fear, greed, and overconfidence. There is no secret system, no magical indicator, no hidden trick that bypasses this truth. It's invisible, but it's the most important force at work in every chart, every candle, every order filled or missed. And here lies the mystery that separates the amateurs from the professionals, the accounts that blow up in weeks from those that last years. There is one rule that professionals never, ever break. Not for streaks, not for temptation, not for ego. This rule governs every trade, every decision, every step of their journey. And it is so simple, so brutally logical, that it is almost impossible to believe until you've seen it in action. Yet breaking it even once can erase years of progress, unravel discipline built over months, and leave a trader stranded, questioning everything they thought they knew. It's not about entry signals, indicators, or strategies. It's about an invisible boundary that protects accounts from the destructive forces of emotion, overconfidence, and impulsive decision-making. And though beginners dream of shortcuts, professionals understand that the true shortcut is actually the hardest path: consistent adherence to this rule, day after day, trade after trade, without exception. Beginners will never stumble upon it by accident. They will ignore it, underestimate it, and sometimes even laugh at it. But those who survive, those who last, eventually discover it. They discover why their peers blow accounts while they remain relatively unscathed year after year. They discover that the market does not reward knowledge or luck. It rewards discipline, patience, and adherence to the one rule that protects first, profits second. And while the temptation to break it will never fully disappear, the professionals understand that the consequences of ignoring it are immediate, unforgiving, and often irreversible. Every trade begins with a choice: follow the rule or risk everything. And it is this invisible choice, repeated countless times, that separates a trader who survives from one who collapses under the weight of greed, fear, and ego. The one rule that separates professionals from beginners is deceptively simple yet brutally unforgiving: protect capital at all costs. Every other trading strategy, indicator, or market theory is secondary to this fundamental law. Professionals do not enter the market with the goal of winning trades or achieving big profits. Their goal is survival. They trade to survive another day, another week, another year, and in doing so, they secure the ability to capitalize on opportunities consistently over time. Survival is not glamorous, it is not exciting, and it is rarely celebrated. But it is the only metric that truly matters. Without it, all the knowledge, all the signals, and all the strategies in the world are meaningless. The beginner steps onto this stage with a different mindset. They are intoxicated by the allure of immediate gains, chasing patterns and signals as if a single trade can define their worth. They mistake excitement for skill, adrenaline for insight, and often, in the process, they destroy the very foundation they need to succeed. Professionals understand that excitement is dangerous, and that the only real measure of success is staying in the game long enough for the odds to work in their favor. Risk per trade is never determined by impulse, ego, or revenge. Professionals calculate it precisely, respecting the fact that even a single trade can erase weeks or months of progress if managed carelessly. Each trade has a pre-defined risk threshold, a number that represents the maximum loss that can occur without jeopardizing the overall account. Losses are not feared, they are planned, controlled, and accepted. Professionals know that losing is inevitable. What matters is how much they lose and how consistently they adhere to their plan. They never risk more to make it back or chase the market after a setback. This discipline, this cold and calculated approach, is what preserves capital and allows compounding to work over months and years. It is why small, consistent losses are far more valuable than a single lucky win. Consistency is the cornerstone of professional trading. One big win does not create an edge, one disciplined approach repeated endlessly does. When a trader prioritizes protection over excitement, they create a long-term edge that compounds over time. Each controlled loss, each avoided impulsive trade, each adherence to risk management is a brick in the foundation of sustainable trading. Beginners fail to see this because they are blinded by the desire for immediate gratification. They imagine that a single trade, executed perfectly, will vault them into financial freedom. But the market does not reward fantasy. It rewards patience, discipline, and respect for the rules that govern survival. Breaking risk rules even once can disrupt compounding, erode confidence, and set off a chain reaction of poor decisions that can destroy months of progress in a matter of hours. Professionals internalize this truth to the point where it becomes instinctive, a mental reflex that overrides fear, greed, and temptation. Protecting capital is not just a guideline, it is a psychological shield. It dictates the size of every position, the timing of every entry, and the decision to sit on the sidelines when conditions are unfavorable. It forces traders to confront their emotions honestly and ruthlessly. Fear of loss is acknowledged but not allowed to dictate behavior. Greed is observed but never acted upon. Every trade is a decision made within the boundaries of protection, not hope. This approach transforms trading from a series of random gambles into a controlled, systematic process where the outcome of any single trade is secondary to the preservation of the account. The professional's mantra is simple and powerful. Your first job as a trader isn't to make money, it's to stay in the game. Every other objective, every profit target, every strategy serves this ultimate rule. The principle of risk management extends beyond individual trades. It governs position sizing, daily loss limits, and even the decision to take breaks or avoid trading altogether. Professionals know when the market is unfavorable and have the courage to step away. They understand that patience is part of protection and that trading without an edge is a slow erosion of capital. Beginners, by contrast, often confuse inactivity with weakness and force trades in poor conditions, exposing themselves to unnecessary risk. The difference is subtle but critical. Survival-oriented trading is proactive and controlled, while excitement-driven trading is reactive and reckless. The psychological discipline required to consistently protect capital is immense, and it is what separates those who last from those who burn out in months. Breaking the risk management rule has immediate and visible consequences. A single over-leveraged trade or an attempt to make it back can wipe out weeks of compounding, leaving the trader in a vulnerable state both financially and emotionally. The impact is not just on the account, it is on the mind. Once discipline is broken, fear and regret creep in, clouding judgment and increasing the likelihood of further mistakes. Professionals recognize this danger and treat the rule as non-negotiable. The cost of breaking it is immediate and absolute, reinforcing the importance of strict adherence. This unwavering commitment is what allows them to endure losing streaks without panic, to accept small losses without hesitation, and to maintain the mental stability necessary to execute high-probability trades consistently. Capital protection also enables the trader to leverage the most powerful force in trading time. By staying in the game, the professional allows the edge to manifest over days, weeks, and months. Compounding is not just a mathematical concept. It is the natural reward for discipline and patience. Every controlled trade, every limit observed, every loss cut on time contributes to a growing advantage that multiplies quietly but inexorably. Beginners, obsessed with immediate results, often sabotage this process, prioritizing short-term wins over long-term survival. Professionals understand that the market does not pay for bravado. It pays for adherence to the rule that ensures longevity. This approach fundamentally changes the way a trader views success. Professionals measure success not in excitement or in the size of a single winning trade, but in survival and consistency. Small, steady gains, protected capital, and disciplined adherence to risk rules are far more valuable than volatile profits or dramatic trades. It is a mindset that requires humility, patience, and a willingness to accept outcomes without emotional attachment. Traders who internalize this principle develop a mental framework that allows them to act decisively, avoid impulsive reactions, and maintain control even in chaotic markets. Knowing the rule, however, is only the beginning. Understanding the importance of protecting capital is crucial, but applying it consistently under pressure is the true test. The psychological battle begins the moment emotions interfere, when fear, greed, or impatience tempt the trader to stray. The rule itself is simple to state, yet excruciatingly difficult to follow in real time. Professionals spend years honing the mental toughness required to resist these impulses, reinforcing the principle of survival until it becomes instinctual. Every trade becomes a test not of strategy, but of discipline, and every adherence strengthens the foundation of long-term success. Trading is not just a technical exercise, it is a psychological war. Every time a trader sits in front of charts, with positions open and capital at risk, a battle begins between the rational mind and raw emotion. The very rule that defines professional trading, protect capital at all costs, is constantly under attack from our own brain. Fear, greed, ego, and frustration lurk in the shadows of every decision, waiting to override logic and discipline. This is why so many traders break the rule, even when they know it is the only thing standing between survival and disaster. Fear of missing out is perhaps the most insidious of all triggers. A promising setup appears, and the beginner's mind screams to enter immediately, to chase the opportunity, to prove they are smart enough to catch it. The professional feels the same urge, but knows that patience and waiting for confirmation are part of protection. Acting impulsively in the name of opportunity is the fastest way to violate risk rules and undo months of careful compounding. Greed after a winning streak is another psychological pitfall. One or two profitable trades can create a false sense of invincibility, a dangerous belief that luck, skill, or destiny is on their side. The temptation to increase risk, over-leverage, or chase larger profits grows stronger with each win. Yet the professional sees wins as temporary and irrelevant to the long-term process. They recognize that success is not measured by excitement or ego, boosting streaks, but by adherence to the plan and protection of capital. Greed is the enemy of survival. It transforms careful opportunity into reckless exposure. Similarly, revenge after a loss is a silent killer. A losing trade triggers emotional reactivity, frustration, self-doubt, and anger. The instinct to immediately make it back can push a trader to risk far beyond what they would normally consider acceptable. Professionals experience the same impulses, but they follow predefined rules, stop losses, and checklists that prevent emotion from dictating action. The loss is absorbed, analyzed, and accepted, not chased, preventing a single mistake from cascading into catastrophic consequences. Ego attachment to being right is equally destructive. Traders often equate self-worth with trade outcomes. Being wrong is intolerable, and admitting a mistake feels like personal failure. This attachment makes it difficult to cut losses or follow risk management protocols. Professionals, by contrast, separate identity from outcomes. They view trades as experiments, positions as temporary engagements, and mistakes as learning opportunities. The identity of a trader is not defined by being right but by executing a plan with discipline, regardless of short-term results. This mindset shift, from emotional gambler to disciplined risk manager, is essential for surviving in the market long enough to build an edge. The conflict between the brain and discipline is at the core of this psychological war. Our brains are wired for immediate reward and loss avoidance. Evolutionarily, reacting impulsively to perceived threats or opportunities kept humans alive. In trading, these ancient instincts are triggered by charts, P&L fluctuations, and market noise. The rational, disciplined part of the mind understands the importance of rules and protection, but the emotional brain is louder, faster, and more persuasive. Professionals recognize that the battle is not external, not with the market, but internal. Every trade tests the ability to override instinct, to honor pre-set risk levels, and to follow checklists designed to neutralize emotion. They develop rituals, routines, and rules that make the right decision automatic, minimizing the risk of being hijacked by fear or greed. Emotional triggers are the silent destroyers of accounts. A sudden spike, a candle that almost hits a stop, or an unexpected news event can cause panic and impulsive decisions. Traders often believe that they are uniquely capable of managing their emotions, but experience and observation reveal otherwise. Professionals still feel anxiety, frustration, and excitement. The difference is in their response. They rely on predefined rules, trading plans, and checklists to create boundaries between impulses and actions. This externalization of control, letting the plan dictate behavior rather than emotions, is a hallmark of elite trading psychology. It transforms volatility from a source of panic into a set of controlled variables within a system. Identity shift is critical in this process. Beginners identify as gamblers, thrill seekers, or clever strategists trying to beat the market. Their self-image is tied to being right, being fast, or being smart. Professionals identify as risk managers, operators, and guardians of capital. Their self-image is tied to discipline, adherence to rules, and long-term survival. This shift is not superficial. It rewires priorities, decision-making, and responses to market stimuli. Amateurs trade to feel smart, to validate their ego, and to chase excitement. Professionals trade to execute a plan, to protect the account, and to honor the process that ensures they are still in the game tomorrow, next week, and next year. This identity change is subtle but profound, influencing every interaction with the market, every emotional trigger, and every choice about risk exposure. Predefined rules and checklists are the weapons in this psychological war. They are not optional, they are essential. They provide structure, remove ambiguity, and reduce the cognitive load required to make decisions under stress. By externalizing the rules, traders create a buffer between raw emotion and action. The checklist might dictate risk per trade, stop-loss placement, acceptable market conditions, or maximum daily loss. It transforms decision-making from an emotional reaction into a mechanical process, which is especially vital during periods of stress when instinct would otherwise dominate. This systematic approach is what allows professionals to maintain composure, execute plans, and survive losing streaks that would devastate less disciplined traders. The psychological war behind the rule also emphasizes self-awareness. Professionals constantly monitor their mental and emotional state. They recognize fatigue, frustration, and overconfidence as risk factors in themselves, not just the market. They take breaks, step away, and reset when necessary, understanding that discipline cannot exist in a state of emotional overload. Beginners, conversely, often interpret stress as a signal to push harder, leading to mistakes that compound losses. Self-awareness, combined with strict adherence to rules, is the armor that protects capital and ensures long-term sustainability. Even when professionals experience the same emotional triggers as beginners, fear of missing out, greed after a win, frustration after a loss, their behavior is entirely different. The external stimuli are identical, but the internal response diverges because of training, planning, and identity. This demonstrates that mastery in trading is less about predicting the market and more about predicting and controlling oneself. The battle is internal, and the victor is the trader who can consistently enforce the rule, protect capital at all costs. Every trade becomes a test of this psychological resilience. Every candle, every swing, every news event is an opportunity for the emotional brain to challenge discipline. Professionals respond not with reaction, but with adherence to the process, reinforcing the identity of a risk manager and operator. Amateurs react, chase, and gamble, often paying the price with their accounts. This dynamic illustrates the brutal truth. The market doesn't punish mistakes in isolation. It punishes the combination of emotional impulses and lack of structure. The professional's advantage is their ability to suppress these impulses and let the plan, not the emotion, govern outcomes. Enforcing the rule of protecting capital is where theory meets execution, where professional traders separate themselves from beginners. Knowing the rule is not enough. It must be embedded into every action, every trade, and every decision. Professionals do not rely on motivation, luck, or intuition to survive the markets. They automate discipline through predefined rules, checklists, and systems that remove emotion from critical decisions. The first cornerstone is defining a fixed percentage risk per trade. This is not arbitrary or reactive. It is calculated, often ranging from 0.5% to 2% of total account size depending on strategy and market conditions. By limiting exposure per trade, professionals ensure that no single loss can materially impact the account. This allows compounding to occur steadily. as small losses are absorbed without emotional turbulence and profits accumulate safely over time. Beginners, in contrast, often allow risk to fluctuate based on ego streaks or fear, creating vulnerability to catastrophic drawdowns. Maximum daily and weekly loss limits are the second essential layer. Professionals recognize that even the most disciplined execution can encounter losing streaks. By setting daily and weekly caps, they create a hard boundary for emotional and financial safety. Once a limit is reached, trading stops. Walking away is not a sign of weakness. It is a deliberate act of self-preservation. This prevents the temptation to revenge trade, to chase losses, or to force setups that are not aligned with strategy. It also ensures that the account survives to the next session, preserving opportunities to compound gains and execute high-probability trades. Funded traders, in particular, survive evaluation phases by adhering to these limits, demonstrating consistency and reliability rather than gambling for immediate results. Predefined stop-loss placement is another critical tool for enforcing the rule. Before entering any trade, the professional calculates the stop-loss based on market structure, volatility, and risk tolerance. This stop is never moved emotionally or adjusted in response to fear or hope. Moving a stop-loss after entry is one of the fastest ways to destroy an account. It exposes the trader to outsized losses and undermines the integrity of the risk management plan. Position sizing is directly tied to the stop-loss. The amount risked per trade is proportional to account size and distance to the stop. The formula may be simple, risk per trade divided by distance to stop, but its disciplined application ensures that trades are sized appropriately and losses are manageable. Beginners often miscalculate position sizing or allow emotions to override it, creating exposure that even a winning strategy cannot overcome. Journaling every trade is the next layer of discipline. Professionals document not only entry and exit points, but also mental state, rationale, and emotional triggers. This creates accountability and enables objective review. Over time, journaling reveals patterns in behavior, moments when emotions overpowered rules, when greed or fear influenced decisions, and when the plan was executed flawlessly. Reviewing emotional mistakes weekly consolidates learning and strengthens the ability to follow the rule under stress. It is this reflective process, combined with strict adherence to risk parameters, that turns experience into sustainable advantage. Beginners rarely review trades systematically, which means mistakes are repeated and emotional errors compound, eroding both capital and confidence. Walking away after hitting predefined limits is a practical demonstration of the rule in action. Professionals do not debate, rationalize, or justify continuing after reaching a cap. The rules exist to protect the account and adherence is non-negotiable. This simple action, stepping away, prevents one bad decision from erasing 20 good trades, preserves mental clarity, and maintains the structural integrity of long-term compounding. It is a physical and psychological reinforcement of the concept that survival comes first, profit second. Small, disciplined actions repeated over time produce extraordinary results, whereas impulsive decisions, no matter how intelligent they seem, often lead to account destruction. The power of small, consistent risk cannot be overstated. By risking only a fraction of the account on any single trade, professionals create resilience. One losing streak cannot bankrupt them, and one emotional impulse cannot unravel months of progress. This approach allows compounding to function effectively. Capital grows steadily and safely. Funded traders who survive evaluation phases exemplify this principle. They do not win every trade, but they never jeopardize the account, which demonstrates reliability to the fund and ensures the ability to trade another day. In contrast, amateurs overestimate their ability to recover from mistakes and often fall into the trap of risking too much, chasing results, and breaking the one rule that guarantees survival. Enforcing the rule also requires strict routines and automation of discipline. Professionals create systems that make adherence automatic. Predefined trade setups, checklists for market conditions, automated alerts for stop-loss hits, and systematic position sizing all remove subjective decision-making from critical moments. Motivation alone cannot protect an account. It fluctuates with mood, stress, and external factors. Rules, systems, and processes ensure discipline is constant. This is why professional trading is less about being smart and more about following the plan, executing it without deviation, and letting compounding and probability work in your favor over time. Beginners often rely on enthusiasm, ego, or short-term intuition, which makes consistency impossible and risk unavoidable. The enforcement of rules extends to psychological self-control as well. Professionals recognize their own emotional limits and respond accordingly. They step away when fatigued, when stressed, or when the market conditions are unclear. This proactive self-management prevents mistakes and reinforces the habit of protecting capital. Emotional control, coupled with strict adherence to fixed percentages, stop losses, and limits, creates a mental environment where following the rule becomes instinctive. Every trade is an exercise in self-discipline, every session a reinforcement of identity as a risk manager rather than a gambler, and every week a proof of the compounding advantage that comes from surviving consistently. One of the most striking insights from observing professional traders is that one bad decision can erase 20 good trades. It is not the frequency of mistakes but their magnitude that matters. Oversized positions, emotional deviations, and ignoring risk limits are catastrophic precisely because the account is fragile without enforced discipline. Professionals understand this deeply and design every aspect of their trading, from pre-trade analysis to post-trade journaling, to prevent a single lapse from compromising long-term growth. They accept losses, control risk, and follow the plan, understanding that small, disciplined decisions compound into consistent profitability, while large, impulsive mistakes destroy progress. Ultimately, enforcing the rule of capital protection transforms trading from a reactive, emotional activity into a controlled, systematic process. Each element, fixed percentage risk, daily and weekly limits, predefined stop, loss, position sizing, journaling, weekly review, and walking away, works in harmony to create a protective framework. Within this framework, the trader is free to execute plans with clarity, consistency, and confidence. The account becomes resilient, compounding steadily, and the trader develops the psychological strength to resist impulses, manage stress, and execute the strategy under pressure. The result is not just financial survival, but the development of a professional mindset, a mental architecture that supports disciplined decision-making day after day, week after week, and year after year. The journey from emotional, impulsive trading to disciplined, professional trading is not defined by technical skill or strategy alone. It is a profound mindset shift that transforms how a trader views risk, loss, and success. The first and most fundamental change is detachment from outcome. Beginners tie their self-worth to wins, profits, and validation. Every losing trade feels like failure, every missed opportunity feels catastrophic. Professionals, by contrast, measure success not by the immediate result of a trade, but by their adherence to rules and risk management. They understand that losses are not personal, and that small, controlled losses are a necessary part of long-term growth. Learning to love small losses, to accept them without emotional reaction, is a hallmark of maturity in trading. These losses are proof that the plan is working, that the risk is contained, and that the trader is surviving to trade another day. Thinking in probabilities is the next step in this transformation. No trade is guaranteed, and no system can predict the market with certainty. Professionals internalize this truth and operate accordingly. They focus on setups that offer an edge, knowing that even high-probability trades will sometimes lose. Their goal is not perfection but consistency, repeating positive expectancy trades over time while minimizing risk on each one. Beginners often attempt to control outcomes, chase certainty, or cling to winning streaks. This approach leads to emotional decision-making, over-leveraging, and devastating losses. Professionals understand that probability and discipline, not ego or intuition, drive long-term success. Patience becomes a defining trait. Where beginners rush into trades to feel action, professionals wait for setups that meet predefined criteria. They understand that skipping a trade or sitting on the sidelines is not weakness but strategy. Long-term compounding thrives on patience. The account grows steadily, quietly, and safely while impulsive traders chase short-term excitement and volatility, often erasing months of progress in a single emotional decision. Professionals accept that small gains, managed losses, and disciplined execution will accumulate into meaningful wealth over time, while beginners seek immediate validation and instant results. The identity of a professional trader is fundamentally different from that of an emotional trader. Professionals see themselves as risk managers first, Operator second. Their ego is detached from individual trade outcomes. Their self-worth is tied to discipline, rule following, and the ability to survive in the market. This identity shift changes behavior at every level: position sizing, stop-loss placement, journaling, reviewing mistakes, and even walking away after reaching limits. Professionals internalize the Owen rule: protect capital at all costs, and let it guide every decision, creating a feedback loop of reinforcement and growth. Detachment from outcome also allows for better emotional control. When the primary goal is survival and rule following, fear, greed, and frustration no longer dictate actions. Professionals experience the same emotions as beginners, but their response is different. They follow checklists, honor stop losses, and manage risk systematically. The market no longer triggers panic, and small losses no longer feel like failure. Instead, they become data points, signals, and opportunities to refine the process. By controlling their reactions, professionals maintain composure, prevent catastrophic mistakes, and allow the long-term edge to manifest naturally. Measuring success shifts from profit to discipline. Professionals understand that winning is a byproduct of following the rules consistently. The focus is on executing plans with precision, adhering to risk limits, and surviving losing streaks without emotional interference. Success is maintaining account integrity, following the plan, and avoiding impulsive behavior. Profits become the outcome of repeated discipline, not the metric of validation. This mindset frees the trader from emotional swings, promotes clarity, and reinforces the compounding effect of small, controlled gains over time. The transformation also reinforces the understanding that the market rewards discipline, not intelligence. Many beginners believe that knowledge, clever strategies, or intuition are the keys to profitability. Professionals know that these elements are secondary. The market will punish mistakes regardless of intelligence. Only discipline, the ability to follow the Owen rule consistently, creates sustainable profitability. The trader who survives, who cuts losses, who controls risk, and who avoids breaking rules is the trader who earns the right to profit. This principle underscores every action, trade, and decision in professional trading. Finally, this transformation empowers the trader to act rather than react. Emotional traders react to charts, news, and fluctuations, often with impulsive and destructive results. Professionals act according to plan, adhering to risk parameters, executing setups with precision, and maintaining patience. They do not chase trades, they do not force setups, and they do not allow temporary losses to provoke impulsive reactions. The Owen rule, protect capital at all costs, becomes the foundation of every action, the lens through which opportunity, risk, and strategy are evaluated. This disciplined framework enables compounding, preserves capital, and cultivates the mindset necessary to survive and thrive in the long-term market. The result of this transformation is profound. Emotional traders, once reactive and ego-driven, become calculated operators. Fear, greed, and frustration no longer dictate decisions. Losses are accepted and managed. Wins are understood as part of a long-term process rather than validation. Discipline, patience, and rule following define success. Compounding becomes the natural outcome of repeated adherence to rules, and the trader evolves into a professional who can endure volatility, setbacks, and challenges with composure and clarity. The market doesn't reward intelligence. It rewards discipline. You don't become profitable when you start winning. You become profitable when you stop breaking your rules. The Owen rule isn't about making money. It's about becoming the kind of trader who deserves it. Ask yourself honestly, have you been breaking this rule? Are you trading to win or are you trading to survive? The transformation begins with acknowledging the rule, embracing discipline, and committing to the mindset of the professional trader. The journey is not easy, but it is the only path to sustainable success and long-term growth.